Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a growing potential for a very large winter storm. Now, I haven't uploaded a video in a while, partly because I was very busy with other stuff in life, but partly also because of the fact it's been very boring, the weather. Like, yes, there have been weather systems, but really nothing too spectacular where I'll just make a separate video about. Obviously, we are seeing some activity right now. Do note across the northwestern United States, we have a system that is pretty big. We have a system that is currently kind of developing across the eastern United States that will end up dropping quite a bit of snow for, say, southern Canada in the next 1 to 2 days. There are winter storm watches, winter storm warnings for Canada, issued by Environmental Canada and the National Weather Service, which are corresponding government agencies that issue winter weather headlines for the areas of the U.S. and Canada. But again, we've had a lot of systems that have been just regionally based, and I don't like reporting on systems that just affect a region. Usually, if I make a video, it's about a system that is, cross country or just big enough of an impact where it's worthy of talking about. But if it's just like some system that impacts drops like 5 inches of snow in some one state or one province, I don't bother. But we're finally looking at an increase in activity. So obviously, as I mentioned, we are dealing with activity now. We will be seeing heavy snow across much of the southern Canadian provinces, southern Canadian cities of Toronto, Ottawa, Quebec. Toronto not as much, but further north you go along the St. Lawrence River Valley, you will see more snow into the coming days. The northwest will be seeing as well, the northwestern United States, quite a bit of snow. And do notice that there will be some little clippers in the meantime, but really nothing worthy to make a video about, and that was the case for a very, very long time. Notice that the National Weather Service current weather ready nation map, again with that system right now across the Northeast, there are some watches up, quite a bit of warnings and watches and flood watches as well, but mainly winter headlines across the Northwest. A lot of Idaho there, Utah, and Nevada under some winter storm warnings. Quite a bit of snow will be falling there, but again, this system really won't do much as it exits. The mountains pretty much tear it up. However, as I play this into the future, I want to bring focus to the continued very active western flow off the Pacific, which will be bringing little systems periodically. Notice that we will be seeing a warming pattern into the late part of this week for much of the U.S., so that will send a clipper pretty far towards the north, but it may be mixing with rain as far north as areas that today will be, in the next few days, we'll be seeing a lot of snow across Maine and southern Canada. However, a more system of interest comes onto the shore right there. It doesn't look all massive as it enters the coast. Does drop snow across Utah, Colorado, but once it reaches the plains, it develops into a pretty sizable system. It has a lot of access to moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see that the GFS model interpretation, and I specify that because there are differences between the models, I'll show you in just a minute, but they're more or less pretty similar. You can see it has a lot of strong wind, right? Quite a bit of a powerful cold front, definitely a severe weather concern. Now, depending on how this thing tilts and where exactly the track lies, will obviously determine how much snow, but notice that it has a lot of moisture, so the snow where it does fall will probably fall in very heavy rates, and you can see hits the northeast coast and explodes into a massive system. So that is finally a system worth making a video about, kind of one I've been waiting for. It hasn't happened in a really a long time. And do note that after this system, the pattern, according to the latest GFS model run, does remain active. You can see another system coming through, even another one pretty far to the south. Whether or not that happens, we'll have to see. That's just way too far out. The models are, more or less have been very inconsistent the last week about what happened the next 2 weeks, let alone after the system, right? So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Notice, so the GFS has been consistent. In the morning, it showed this system. And again, that's the same storm. You can see it was obviously a lot more expansive, but the snow rates weren't as heavy. But then it develops a second one, drops a lot of snow, moves up the northeast coast. So that's also an interesting one. But again, it showed that system. It's been consistent for a few days now. So that is a GFS model run. I guess I'll show you what it shows in terms of snowfall from that first system as it develops off into the mountains, goes to the central United States, and lifts off into the northeast. The snowfall in some of these areas would be pretty significant. Obviously, not all of this is from that system. We have snow out ahead of that, but notice it does leave a stripe of decent snow across Indiana, Ohio, maybe into the northeast, depending on how coastal or not coastal the storm is. Canadian model, 240 hours out, you can see it's a more northern track. That's mainly the system snow right there into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Canada. Now again, some of this snow here will be falling as a result of other smaller systems, not necessarily just this big one. Notice, again, Canadian, just like the GFS, showing a pretty active pattern right now, but no big system, no big storm, so that's why I haven't really made a video. But again, we have that system moving in right there into California, into the west. We do have a little series of clipper systems, so if you live across, say, the southern Canadian plains in Brandon, Winnipeg, Thunder Bay, those areas of Canada could get impacted by a nice shot of snow into this upcoming Thursday and Friday. And then you can see there's the Canadian model showing a very, very impressive system. Massive cold front. This would be more of a severe weather risk probably than what the GFS showed, and it lifts it off towards the north. So that is definitely a possibility, and we'll have to keep an eye on it. But again, the system is shown. The European model, again, the European is kind of considered the best one, really. I would say it's on par with the GFS. In recent years, the GFS has really caught up. But notice that right now, again, just like the GFS and Canadian, it shows a lot of activity across the east, the west. But again, that's not really what we're focused on. It does show that clipper way across southern Canada. That could be a decent shot of snow there. It may look small, but these could actually be pretty feisty for a while, and it has a nice circular, nice spin, nice strong low pressure, so I do think that there will be quite a bit of snow that ends up falling with that system there. Notice though it peters out as it heads off and gets more and more moisture starved. However, there's that system that we're really looking for. The low pressure develops. The European takes its sweet time there, developing quite a bit of bands of rain out ahead of this. The warm front, it has a lot of moisture to work with, and you can see on the cold front side of the system, it definitely develops snow. Now you can see that the latest European model run kind of takes it to the south and shoots it off towards the north very quickly. That may be a possibility. Just look how massive that cold front is also. But it's also possible where the system just drags out and goes more flat. That would probably produce more snow. But the main message is that, well, it's a big system, and it's around that same time frame again. The GFS and Canadian are showing one, so our confidence in the system occurring is pretty strong. Again, you can see the snow band that it drops is also pretty significant. But again, the European has been showing something for quite a bit as well. Notice this was the midnight model run. It showed it further north. So that's definitely a possibility. A lot of fluctuations, and we normally see that with systems. And the day before that, it was even further towards the north and especially west. So we'll have to wait and see on exactly how these models settle it. For now, it's just still too far out to make anything significant of it. Though, again, I did want to make this video and warn you that there will be a system, a pretty big one, around that weekend, next weekend. So if you look at, say, let's look at the GFS again, at its noon model run from earlier today, just to show you the consistency of the system being shown. Again, little small disturbances, little small clippers of various nature will be throughout most of this week. So depending on where you live, that will definitely be impacting you. But again, this thing moves in on the west on Friday, the coast, and by late Thursday, early Friday, by late Friday, early Saturday, this thing's moving through the mountains according to the GFS, and you can see it's I guess forming across the Midwest. And this was the midnight model run. So this was definitely an interesting scenario, and you can see it and kind of redevelops into yet another system as it leaves the northeast coast there. So yeah, and this thing would be a pretty quick mover, it seems. Would be out of here probably by Tuesday, late Monday, Tuesday. But behind it, it seems the GFS favors more cold air before maybe a ridging pattern develops back again right before Christmas time. So we'll have to wait and see. But overall, you can see the total snowfall on the map here quite a bit. And notice some of that southern Canadian areas with that clipper could pick up quite a bit, especially the northeast, just north of the St. Lawrence River Valley. It seems like a lot of snow will be occurring there, a lot of systems merging. And that is essentially what I wanted to cover. Stay tuned for further updates, and I'll catch you all guys in the next video. See ya.